Start with Moscow, if you will. That it was mass murder most foul. Most people, not all, alas, could agree. The murdering and maiming of hundreds of people, unarmed, civilian people, young and old, men and women, in a concert hall would ordinarily bring down the righteous indignation and wrath of all right-thinking people. But as always, it depends who the victims were and who the perpetrators might have been, so far as some people are concerned. Who did it, do you think? What happens next?
Right now, the evidence does point to the involvement of Ukrainian intelligence. There's very strong evidence to back up that assertion. The Russians, from what I understand, the Russians were tracking this vehicle from the moment it left Moscow. They could have stopped it at Moscow, but they let it go because they were also tracking the cell phones. And they were monitoring these cell phones as they made repeated phone calls into Ukraine, where they were connected with entities on the Ukrainian side of the border who were arranging to have a safe passage through the Russian-Ukrainian border. And that just directly implicates the Ukrainian government, because you need the complicity of the Ukrainian border services, and that they would have to coordinate with higher authorities. And we also know that there's connectivity between the so-called International Legion of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, particularly the part of the Legion that's controlled by Ukrainian intelligence, and the Central Asian republics. And that connectivity is also linked to the ongoing efforts by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency to use the Central Asian republics as a means of putting pressure on Russia, also to use the immigrants. There's a large number of immigrants who work in Russia as a sea of fish amongst which intelligence operatives can swim. We did the same thing in Baghdad in the 1990s, using the Kurdish population there as a sea amongst which the CIA, the MI6, and the Israeli Mossad fish could swim. And the same thing's happening in Russia today, where these immigrant populations are being used by foreign intelligence to find disaffected persons who will provide transportation support, who will provide logistics support, who will provide housing support, etc. So it appears that the CIA, at a minimum, provided infrastructure support to the Ukrainian intelligence. But we also should never forget that the CIA, since 2022, through their Special Activities Center, which is mandated by an act of Congress, by the way, to carry out deniable covert operations, including unconventional warfare, guerrilla warfare. These would also be called acts of terrorism, given what they do to disrupt civilian life for political purposes. And the CIA, the Special Activities Center, has been doing this work in Ukraine since 2022, and there's no reason to believe that suddenly they would have stopped doing this. We know that they have coordinated with the Ukrainian intelligence to penetrate Russian soil for the purpose of carrying out espionage, sabotage, direct action attacks. And again, what transpired here was a act of, it was politicized direct action designed to undermine the authority of the Russian government, to undermine the authority of Vladimir Putin. This was not an ISIS attack. First of all, the way it came out through a press service. ISIS normally releases reports about attacks that it was directly involved in through their central branch, but this was done through the press service, which means that it's after the fact that ISIS is saying these people were motivated by ISIS, so we're going to take credit for it. But if you take a look at the photographs that they use, when was the last time you saw ISIS martyrs blur their face? They don't blur their face because they don't care, because they're dead. These guys blurred their face because they were hoping to escape. When was the last time you had an ISIS attack say, we're going to carry out this attack and then we're going to try and get away, that we're doing it for money, not for a desire to become a martyr? ISIS was a deliberate cover story crafted by Ukrainian intelligence to mislead